So my kids have this wonderful train set. It's all wooden and it includes this bridge. I glued the supports to the bridge in hopes that we could reduce some frustration, because you see what was happening is that this thing would go together and then it would fall apart the moment that you accidentally touched it or looked at it the wrong way. What we're going to do today is we're going to fix this. Now, originally wood glue, and I thought that that was going to hold for a while, and it did, until it got stepped on or something happened to separate it. So I'm going to reattach it, and this time I'm going to use some screws and some wood glue to make this a really strong bond.
Okay, so on the top side of the track, there are these grooves that the toy train rides in. They're the ideal place for the screws to go, but they also present a small challenge. I'm using these really small self-tapping flathead screws, the longest of which is 16 millimeters long, close to 5/8 of an inch. These should be just long enough to make a solid connection. To keep the screws from becoming bumps in the track, each will need to be countersunk below the top of the groove. Since I don't have a countersink bit small enough to get into the tight clearance of the groove, I'm going to use a small brad point bit to drill out both the countersink and a perfectly centered pilot hole. I'll then come back with a smaller bit and pre-drill a hole for the screw. The drill press is the best tool for milling countersunk screw recesses. The recesses should be perhaps a millimeter deeper than the thickness of the screw head. So to ensure that each recess is consistently milled, I'm configuring the drill press depth stop to avoid milling out too little or too much material. You could also do this with a handheld drill and some tape on the bit, but in my testing, I found it difficult to get the same precision as I can get out of the drill press. It's very easy to push too hard and overmill the recess, or being too conservative and undermilling the recess. Next up, the supports need to be prepared. We'll start by removing the residual glue from my failed attempt at bonding these pieces together. And for that, I'm carefully using a chisel to remove the glue bits and smooth out the tops of these supports. Whenever you're using chisels, it's important to keep your bodily extremities away from the path of the sharp end. And that is whatever direction it is aimed at and it's going to go in. Fingers in particular are easily gouged with the sharp chisel, and I speak from experience when I tell you that it hurts like a mother. It's time to start attaching the supports to the track, and we'll start with some wood glue. I'm just using Titebond 1 since this toy lives indoors, but frankly any wood glue would work just fine here. Now, because I was hastily cleaning up the last time, I need to remove some dried glue from the dispenser before moving on to the next step. Here a razor blade knife works really well. Now, I'm not looking for glue squeeze out, just a little assurance that this is going to hold over time. I could actually skip the glue, but then it wouldn't be woodworking, and I'm not in a rock the boat sort of mood today. Spread that out a little and it looks good enough for the trains we play with. Okay, with the glue in place, let's quickly set the screws before this glue sets up. A little pre-drilling into the supports with the same bit we used earlier, and finally we can actually drive these screws in and get this back to the kids to play with. That is, before they grow out of it.